Okay, this video is dedicated to some of my nieces and nephews that are wanting to get more into fishing. So this video is all about getting started. You can use these methods from a boat, from the bank, kayak, you name it. But it's kind of just basic trout bait fishing. So I'm going to start with power bait on one rod, show you a couple ways to rig it, and then I'm also going to show you a couple ways that you can do worms with those same riggings, just a worm hook instead of a treble hook. So night crawlers and power bait, fishing off the bottom. All right, I'm going to be using a spinning rod. I've got an ultralight and a medium light rod. This one is a 6-footer, and this one is only 5.5. So ultralight, medium light, either's fine. And what I'm using is some braid and then monofilament leader, but I would recommend, to keep it simple, just put like some 6 or 8 pound monofilament on your reel and you'll be able to target a lot of different fish. Alright, so the first way I'm going to show you to rig it, it's going to be with a treble hook. I like a nice small treble hook. I have a couple different ones. Some are gold, and this one's kind of a darker. These are Mustad hooks is the brand, but just a nice treble hook. These are size 14s. I like them really small, so sometimes I'll even go smaller than the size 14. Now, one way you can do it is you tie that hook directly on here with a fisherman's knot, which I'm going to show you. Then you would come up your selected distance, like 2 feet to 3 feet, somewhere in there. If there's weeds, I'd go longer, like 3 foot. There's no weeds out here, so a couple feet is enough. But what you could do is you'd come up from that hook and you could just put on a split shot. So this is method number 1. It's pretty quick and easy. That split shot simply, as you can see, it pinches closed. So you can just put the line in the mouth of it and then pinch it closed. I recommend just a small pair of pliers, or there you go. So there, it's on there. Now, sometimes they'll slide up and down the line. If you're having that problem, one easy way to fix it is to actually do a wrap. So you put the line in the jaw, then you're going to wrap around the underside and back through the jaw. So I'm going the line through the jaw, back underneath, and back around. And by doing that and then crimping it, it's going to stop those from coming down. Now the advantage of the split shot is you can add multiple split shots to vary how much weight you have. So if you need to cast out further into the wind, you can add more. So that's method number 1. You can put a worm hook, which I'll show you. There we go. That's a number 4 octopus hook. So you can do a worm hook or a treble hook the same exact way. But the way that I prefer, it takes just a little bit more time, but I prefer to do a sliding weight. A couple reasons that I prefer the sliding weight is you can actually, once you cast it out and it's on the bottom, if you want to adjust how far your bait is floating up on a floating bait, you can kind of let out a little more line and then sometimes will slip through. But the biggest advantage of a sliding weight is when the fish grabs the bait, they don't feel the weight as much. If you have just a tiny bit of slack in your line or it's just barely tight, they can kind of pull on it and it's not, pulling on that weight as much. And you can get these slide weights, so they just are a weight with a hole in it, in various sizes. So, 1/4 ounce, I think that's probably somewhere around a 1/2 ounce. Maybe that's 3/4 ounce. Today, I'm going to go kind of in the medium zone and I'm going to do a 1/2 ounce. Now to do the sliding weight, it takes just a little more work and you're going to have to tie on multiple things. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take that slip weight and you're going to put your line through it, like so. So it can just slide like that. You can just let it drop down. Then you're going to need to tie on a swivel. This can be a couple different kinds of swivels. So it can just be a tie swivel like this, that just you tie both sides. You could also do a snap swivel like you use to hook on to lures and spinners and things. Doesn't really matter, whatever you have. So to tie this swivel on, I'm going to just show one knot for this whole tutorial, and that's just the standard fisherman's knot. So you're going to put it through your swivel or your hook and have a couple inches poking out the other side. Then what I like to do is pinch it like that, and then you're simply going to just wrap around itself 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you got all those wraps. Then you're going to get it wet with your saliva. That keeps the line from burning. Then you're going to poke back through this little loop of line that we made, okay? So you poke it back through that hole. Then what I like to do is I like to bite this tag end, and you're not going to pull on the tag end. You're just going to hold it. So I bite it like that. Then you're going to pull. Then you're going to pull on the swivel and the line, okay? Like that. It pulls it down tight. So what I found is if you pull on this tag end also, it's pulling that knot tight too quickly, and it's more likely to burn your line. So there we go. We got a good strong knot. Then a pair of nippers, and just nip off that tag, okay? Then you're going to need some extra line. So you can just use regular monofilament like you have on your reel, or you can use like some stillhead fluorocarbon leader, but I'd recommend, you know, around 6 pound. Either is totally fine. And I'm just going to use the fluorocarbon mostly just because it's already open, but either is totally fine. Then you're going to just pull out how much leader you want from your hook to your swivel, which is essentially your weight, plus a little excess for tying your knots, okay? Then you're going to take the other end of your swivel, and you're going to do the same thing, okay? So just the same fisherman's knot. Loop it through, pinch it, 6 wraps, and then get it wet. Back through the hole, pull it tight. There you go. And you can clip off that tag end, okay? Now you're going to pick how much leader you want. I'm going to go kind of longer. I think I'm going to go about 3 feet or so. And then you're going to tie on your treble hook, because this one I'm going to do power bait. Once again, same exact thing. Get it wet. Alright, so we're all set. We've got our weight, our leader. I ended up going a little over 3 feet. It's fine. Now power bait. There's lots of different colors, and you know, sometimes color can make a big difference. I'd say my 3 favorites would be rainbow, and then this is called sherbet. It's kind of a pink and orange. And then my very most favorite is chartreuse with garlic. I'm convinced that it catches more fish almost all the time. Lots of stink. So you're gonna take your finger, scoop a little out of there, and then you're gonna put it on your treble hook. Now, I like to do a really small piece of power bait, and I kind of do a teardrop shape, even sometimes pulling off the excess. There we go. Nice sparkle chartreuse power bait. Now we're going to cast it out in the water, see if we can't catch a fish. Okay, so what I've done, cast it out, I let it sink to the bottom, and then I just reeled it till it's just barely tight. That way if I'm getting a nibble, I'll be able to see that rod wiggling. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to put on a worm hook. And this one, the wind's picking up, so we're going to go with a 3/4 ounce and cast this one out a little further. Okay, now we're all rigged up. So we got our slide sinker to the swivel, our hook, and it's time to put on the worm. Now, these are pretty big night crawlers, so you can either do a whole worm or a half a worm. I'm going to go ahead and just do a whole worm, and there's a couple reasons why. There's big brown trout in this lake. They like worms. Pretty big rainbows. I think they can handle that worm. And the method I use to float these, it works better if you have a whole worm. And I'll show you why in just a minute. So I don't start threading right on the end. I come down a little ways and I poke the hook in. And now I'm going to try to thread on as much worm as I can, just going right up kind of the middle of the worm. When I can't get any more on, I'm going to poke the hook back out, then I'm going to thread that worm up a ways. I still have quite a bit of worm left, so I'm going to thread it up a little ways, and then I'm going to do one more hook through that worm. Okay? Like so. They come along, they chomp it, we got a fish. Now, there's a couple ways you can float these. Some people will put like a garlic marshmallow on the hook and it will float the worm, or other floating baits. Some people will even add a little thread-on corky. I'll put a link in here for that, but I don't generally use the corkies. Sometimes I use the marshmallows, but I just want this to be a plain worm. So I've got a syringe and a needle. You can get these at any like farm or livestock ranch store, and I'm gonna make sure it pumps air, which it does. It is pretty dirty though, and you're gonna just fill it with air. Now you're gonna take the worm, you're gonna poke the needle into the worm and simply blow him up. You can even hear the air coming out. Okay, poke in one end and blow him up, poke in the other end and blow him up. Now that worm is going to float up off the bottom a little bit. We're ready to fish. All right. Now the last thing I want to say, other than have fun catching, is adjust your drag. So most of the spinning reels, it's right on this end. Sometimes it's down here, but you want to be able to pull line out fairly easy, so that if you hook into a big fish and you're fighting it and it needs to run, it's going to pull a little bit of line instead of breaking off. So there we go. Let's get the worm in the water, see if we can't catch a fish. All right, hopefully some fish to come. Right, I think I'm getting a bite. Woo! Fish on. This is on the worm. Doesn't feel real big, but we'll take it. Trying to keep it out of my anchor line. I think it's a brown. Oh, maybe not. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and net it. Oh, there we go. Then we can kind of keep it in the water because I'm going to let it go as long as it's not hooked too deep. Oh, wow. What a pretty fish. Oh yeah. Okay, luckily hooked right there in the lip. I can catch a lot of kokanee out of this lake, which I prefer eating, so we're gonna let that just beautiful rainbow go. Fish on. Sweet. All right, let's let him out of here. Off he goes. So I think I'm already getting a bite. And this feels like a better fish. Hopefully. Another rainbow. That's not a better fish, just feisty. Wow. That, I caught that as soon as it hit the water. Okay, fish number 2. Okay, we're gonna get this one out of here. Ah! Off he goes. All right, I think that's gonna do it. For today, we're just gonna fish a little bit longer. The waves are getting pretty big and pushing the boat around, and I don't want it banging up against the bank. But let me know if you have any questions, and I hope this helps you get onto some trout. This works great for rainbow trout, brown trout, brook trout, heck, worms for catfish. You can catch crappie and bluegill this way, you know, just you name it, bass even, but really simple, easy way to fish. It's super relaxing. I'm just sitting here on a log, soaking up the sun, and hopefully this helps. If you would, hit the thumbs up if you like it. Let me know if you want to see more of these, you know, bank fishing or you know, different kind of videos versus the boat and the kayak. And if you would subscribe, it really helps the channel. We'll catch you later, and fish on.